You begin by meeting the quiet idea that not everything in nature follows a script. You breathe into this truth slowly, as if letting your mind wander toward an open window. You sense the air shifting, the way dusk settles into a room without asking permission. There is no hurry here, only the gentle recognition that predictability is a comfort, but not a promise carved into the world. As you rest inside this awareness, you feel the edges of certainty soften, like warm wax beginning to melt. You drift toward the boundary where classical rules once felt solid beneath your feet. These rules told you that every cause had a clear effect, that objects moved in smooth arcs, that the universe behaved like a perfectly tuned clock. You grew up inside this mechanical reassurance, trusting the steady tick of its rhythm. But as you step closer now, you feel a subtle dissolving, a thinning of the line that once separated what you knew from what you only sensed. The clockwork fades into mist, and instead, something more mysterious begins to take shape. Here, uncertainty greets you not as chaos, but as a soft hum beneath reality. You imagine the world as a pond at night, its surface touched by ripples that seem to come from nowhere. Each ripple carries a message, but none insist on being decoded. They simply move, spreading possibility outward. You watch them, feeling your own inner patterns shift in response, as if your thoughts were water stirred by a distant breeze. The calm that rises in you is not from knowing, but from letting go of the need to know. In this space, randomness becomes a companion. It moves like a gentle current that doesn't push or pull but offers new directions. You sense how nature uses uncertainty the way an artist uses negative space intentionally, gracefully, allowing room for form to emerge. It isn't disorder but openness, a field where multiple futures rest side by side like seeds waiting for the right moment to grow. You realize how often you have tried to choose a single path, a single meaning, when the world was offering you many at once. You take another breath, slow and grounding. You notice how your body responds to the thought that unpredictability can be a kind of kindness. If everything were predetermined, if every moment unfolded like lines in a script, there would be no room for discovery, no room for the quiet surprises that shape a life. Instead, you live in a world where even the smallest particle is free to wander, to hesitate, to choose among possibilities. That freedom echoes inside you, warming the spaces where you've held rigid expectations too tightly. As you move deeper into this chapter, you picture yourself standing at the edge of a vast meadow at twilight. The grass shifts gently, each blade catching the last traces of light in a slightly different way. The variations are subtle, almost invisible, yet they create a living texture, an ever-changing landscape. You feel drawn to this imagery because it mirrors the quantum world, tiny events unfolding in delicate, unpredictable patterns that collectively form the reality you walk through each day. You take a step into the meadow, feeling the softness of the earth beneath your feet. Each step lands on a patch of ground that is familiar but never exactly the same. You begin to understand how even your movements contain small uncertainties, the angle of your foot, the rhythm of your breath, the way your attention shifts like a lantern beam moving through darkness. These tiny variations don't disturb your path, they enrich it. They make your journey feel alive. Now your thoughts turn toward the nature of prediction. You've been taught that if you know enough, measure enough variables, gather enough data, you can foresee what will happen next. But the deeper you look into the foundations of matter, the more you discover that some things simply cannot be predicted with absolute precision. They are not hiding information. They are not waiting to reveal themselves. They are fundamentally uncertain, woven from threads that shimmer between possibilities. You let this idea settle in you like a stone resting at the bottom of a still pond. You see how it changes the way you relate to your own life. You don't need to force outcomes, don't need to clutch tightly to plans that must unfold a certain way. Instead, you can allow your days to contain small unknowns, trusting that uncertainty is not an enemy but a natural rhythm. It is the pulse of the universe, the breath between moments. You imagine the earliest scientists who sensed this shift. How their certainty cracked open as they observed particles behaving in ways that defied classical expectations. They must have felt the same mixture of wonder and disquiet you feel now. But instead of resisting, they leaned in, listening to the whispers of a world that didn't follow a script. Their curiosity became a bridge into quantum physics, into a deeper understanding of how nature loves to surprise itself. You rest in this lineage of curiosity. You picture a lantern being passed from hand to hand through generations, each flame illuminating new corners of the unknown. Tonight, that lantern rests in your hands. Its glow is soft, warm, steady. It doesn't reveal everything, and it doesn't need to. It simply invites you to keep walking, to trust that the path will light itself step by step. As the meadow darkens, you feel the presence of countless unseen motions around you, particles moving, fields vibrating, uncertainties unfolding in quiet harmony. You don't need to perceive them directly to sense their influence. They shape the world in ways that feel both intimate and infinite. You close your eyes and breathe into that feeling, allowing your mind to drift toward the next question rising gently in your awareness. You open your eyes again, imagining the fabric of reality as something tender, almost breathing. Each point in space feels less like a fixed coordinate and more like a suggestion, a possibility offered rather than imposed. You sense how the universe gives you room to move, to wonder, to pause without falling out of step. This spaciousness holds you gently, like a cradle of starlight. You think of the times you expected life to unfold neatly, only to learn that its beauty often comes from detours, moments that felt uncertain but later proved meaningful. Nature embraces such detours too. Particles do not rush toward predetermined destinations, they wander through fields of possibility before settling into a choice. Their hesitation becomes a quiet lesson, a reminder that not every answer needs to appear at once. And so you settle deeper into this understanding, letting the softness of uncertainty rest against your thoughts like a cool cloth on warm skin. Your breath lengthens, your shoulders drop, your mind grows quiet. The world feels open-ended and gentle. You sense that you are ready now, not for certainty, but for the next step of wonder, the next flicker waiting in the dark. Because if uncertainty is the first step, what flickers in the heart of every particle that makes such freedom possible? You begin this chapter by imagining a tiny glow in the darkness, something smaller than anything you can picture, yet bright enough to draw your attention. You lean toward it gently, the way you might lean toward the flame of a candle at night, curious but cautious, aware of its delicate beauty. This glow is a single quantum particle, and you meet it not as a rigid object but as a trembling possibility. It flickers softly, never still, never offering the same shape twice. As you watch it, you feel your mind loosen, ready to drift with whatever movements it chooses. The particle wavers, as if unsure of where to be. It moves like a flame in a quiet room, responding to currents you can't see but can almost sense. You notice how impossible it is to pin down its position. The closer you look, the more it slips away, as though attention itself scatters its certainty. Yet it doesn't feel evasive. It feels free, almost playful, dancing along invisible threads of potential. In this flicker, you begin to recognize the essence of quantum behavior, not fixed, not definite, but porous and open. You take a slow breath, imagining the particle expanding into a cloud of possibilities. Instead of occupying a single spot, it stretches into many, a blur of outcomes woven together. This is not an error or a flaw in your view. This is its true form, a quantum state holding multiple paths at once, like a soft whisper of many sentences waiting to be spoken. You let the idea wash over you, realizing how different this is from the world you know, where objects rest firmly in place and positions can be measured with certainty. As the particle flickers, you sense how profoundly the rules have shifted. Classical intuition dissolves, replaced by something wilder and more flexible. You see the particle not as a dot but as a shimmering presence, moving between the possible and the actual. It feels like a dancer performing in near darkness, each step leaving traces of where it might have gone, where it could still go, and where it might never choose to be. You watch the dance unfold, feeling the gentle mystery of it settle into you. You picture the particle drifting through space the way dust drifts through a single beam of light. Each moment brings a new glimmer, a new shape, a new potential course. It does not commit to one future until something nudges it, a measurement, a touch, a question asked by the universe or by you. Until then, it remains suspended between choices. You rest in the realization that this suspended state is not indecision. It is natural, a fundamental way that matter exists before solidifying into form. Your attention softens. You feel the flicker inside your own thoughts, the way ideas sometimes appear in clusters of possibility before settling into clarity. Your mind becomes a small mirror of the particle's behavior. You feel a kinship with this instability, discovering that uncertainty inside you is not so different from the uncertainty in the quantum world. Both are invitations, quiet openings into new paths. You follow the particle's movement again. It blurs, stretches, contracts, and then opens into something even more elusive, a wave of probability. You imagine this wave undulating like breath, spreading across space, gentle and rhythmic. Wherever the wave rises higher, the particle is more likely to appear. Wherever it falls lower, the particle rarely visits. But the wave itself is not solid. It is a map of chance, a shifting landscape that guides the particle without dictating it. You drift through this map, imagining what it might feel like to exist as possibility rather than certainty. You pause, sensing how radical this idea truly is. A particle does not simply travel from one place to another. It explores many routes simultaneously. It is not confined to a single narrative. Instead, it holds multiple stories, multiple trajectories, until something collapses them into one. This understanding deepens your sense of how rich the hidden layers of reality are. Beneath the everyday world lies a realm where existence is expansive, where being does not mean choosing one option but balancing many. Your breath deepens as you imagine how the particle interacts with the world around it. When left alone, it flickers between possibilities. When touched, observed, or measured, it sharpens into a single outcome. You sense that this relationship between freedom and definition mirrors the way you move through your own life. When no one is watching closely, your thoughts wander more freely. When attention arrives, something in you becomes crisp, more definite. You feel the familiar tension between openness and resolution, recognizing it as a universal dance. You watch the particle again as it approaches a barrier with two openings, an image inspired by experiments that revealed the heart of quantum mystery. You follow it as it seems to pass through both pathways at once, its wave of potential exploring dual routes simultaneously. The result forms a pattern not of one choice but of many overlapping choices. You feel a rising gently in you, not loud, not overwhelming, but steady and warm. The universe is telling you that reality is larger than intuition, larger than expectation. You lean deeper into the quiet of the moment. The flicker of the particle begins to feel like a guide, a soft teacher showing you that uncertainty is not an obstacle but a natural state of being. The particle's shimmering presence becomes comforting. It reminds you that you do not always need to know exactly where you are headed. Sometimes the most meaningful motions are the ones you can't measure or predict, the ones that come from drifting through possibilities until you find yourself settling into clarity. You let this realization soften your thoughts. You sense how your breathing becomes slower, more rhythmic, aligned with the particle's wave-like behavior. The particle feels close now, almost like a companion, showing you how to let go of rigid expectations. You follow its dance without needing to interpret it, trusting that meaning will emerge in its own time. You let yourself drift with it, suspended for a moment between certainty and openness. As the flicker fades into the background, you begin to wonder what deeper truth lies beneath this shimmering behavior. If particles flicker, if they wander through possibilities, then what is the deeper reason behind their randomness? What guides them into this dance of freedom, and why does nature choose such fluidity at its smallest scales? You enter this chapter with the soft afterglow of the particle's flicker still lingering in your thoughts. The shimmer you witnessed has opened a quiet door inside you, and now you walk through it gently, wondering why the universe behaves this way at its deepest levels. You move slowly, as if stepping into a room filled with warm, moving air, each current carrying traces of unanswered questions. You sense that beneath the flicker lies something intentional, something woven into the fabric of existence itself. You pause and imagine the universe beginning not with certainty, but with a breath of possibility. In your mind's eye, the early cosmos feels like a warm haze, expanding with potential. You picture particles emerging, trembling with choices, free to wander through the openness around them. This freedom feels essential, not accidental. It's as though the universe knew that for anything meaningful to grow, it would first need room to explore, to stretch, to experiment with different directions. You breathe into this idea and feel it settle inside your chest like a gentle warmth. You begin to understand that randomness is not chaos, it is spaciousness. It gives nature the flexibility to adapt, to change, to find new arrangements. Without it, everything would lock into rigid patterns, unable to evolve. You imagine a universe without randomness, cold, mechanical, every outcome predetermined like the gears of a clock. In such a world, nothing surprising could ever appear. There would be no creativity, no variation, no unexpected beauty. Life, as you know it, would not exist. This realization arrives softly, like fog lifting to reveal a distant landscape. You turn your attention back to the quantum world, where randomness arises from the nature of probability itself. A particle does not decide its path ahead of time, nor does the universe assign it a secret destiny. Instead, it moves through a field of possible outcomes, each one shaped by gentle influences, fields, waves, interactions, energy. You imagine these influences like winds over tall grass, shaping the motion but never dictating it fully. The grass sways, the particle moves, and somewhere between guidance and freedom, randomness blooms. You reflect on how comforting it feels that nature resists being fully predictable. You grew up believing that certainty meant safety, that knowing what comes next would protect you from worry. But the more you rest inside these ideas, the more you sense that uncertainty holds a different kind of safety, one that comes from adaptability. When outcomes aren't fixed, you have room to change course. When the universe rolls the dice, it leaves open the possibility that something new might emerge, something healing or transformative. You picture electrons jittering inside atoms, their motion guided by probability rather than strict paths. This jittering creates the stability of matter itself. If particles were perfectly still, atoms would collapse. If they followed fixed trajectories, they would lose the delicate balance that allows them to form the structures around you. Randomness becomes a kind of lifeline, a gentle trembling that keeps the world from freezing into stillness. You take a slow breath, imagining that trembling inside your own life, the small uncertainties that keep your days flexible, open, alive. As you walk deeper into this understanding, you visualize randomness as a quiet artist. With each roll of its unseen dice, it paints new arrangements across the universe. Galaxies form in spirals rather than straight lines. Atoms bond in patterns that allow chemistry to flourish. DNA mutates just enough to allow evolution, creativity, and resilience. You see that chance isn't merely tolerated by nature, it is cherished. It adds spice, texture, depth. Without it, the universe would be flat and predictable, a story where every page reads the same. You drift into a gentle memory of watching leaves fall from a tree. Each leaf follows a different path, tumbling in unpredictable ways. Some spin slowly, some flutter quickly, some drift sideways carried by breezes you can't see. Yet the tree remains whole, rooted, complete. You realize that randomness works the same way at the quantum scale. Each outcome is unique, but the larger structure remains governed by patterns. This blend of unpredictability and stability reassures you, helping you feel held by the larger rhythms around you. You begin to wonder whether randomness exists simply because it must, or whether it serves a deeper purpose. You imagine nature experimenting constantly, trying endless combinations to discover which ones endure. This experimentation is not hurried, it unfolds gradually over cosmic time. Stars form, burn, collapse, and seed the universe with new elements. Planets arise from swirling dust, each with its own uncertain path. Life blossoms in unexpected places, growing from unlikely collisions and rare mutations. None of this could happen in a universe without chance. You let your mind drift now to the connection between randomness and freedom. If particles had predetermined paths, everything, every movement, every thought would be locked into a rigid chain. But because uncertainty is woven into matter, you feel a different truth, that you, too, are woven into possibility. The unpredictability within particles echoes inside your own choices. Your life is not a fixed script but a field of potential paths. You feel a quiet sense of relief, a loosening, as if some weight you've carried has dissolved in the soft air around you. You look again at the particle from the earlier chapter, imagining its flicker now with deeper understanding. You see that the flicker is not indecision, it is openness. It is the universe keeping its options alive until something nudges it toward a final outcome. You begin to wonder how often you, too, rush to collapse possibilities before they have time to breathe. You feel the invitation to slow down, to remain in the space of potential a little longer. There is beauty in that waiting, beauty in the freedom of not knowing. You sense a new kind of stillness rising inside you, one shaped not by certainty but by trust. Randomness is not an accident to fear, it is a principle that sustains the world. You picture it as a soft wind moving through everything, creating subtle variation, opening new doors, keeping the cosmos alive. You rest in the comfort that you don't need to understand every fluctuation. Some things are meant to be uncertain. Some things grow precisely because they are unpredictable. You walk a little farther into this quiet landscape of thought, imagining the universe as a grand story that rewrites itself with every moment. Randomness becomes the pen that allows new sentences to appear, new chapters to unfold. You feel your breath align with this idea, slow and steady. You sense how this openness supports you, giving you the courage to step into the unknown without fear. You allow yourself to lean into the vastness, trusting the gentle logic woven into chance. As the chapter draws near its end, you return once more to the central question: why does nature roll the dice? You sense the beginnings of an answer, because variability brings resilience, because freedom brings possibility, because randomness keeps the universe alive. Yet you feel another question rising softly, whispering at the edge of your awareness: if randomness creates possibility, then what quiet patterns emerge behind all this chance? You settle a little deeper into the quiet around you, letting your breath soften as the world narrows to a gentle hum. In this calm space, you begin to sense something subtle, as if the universe carries a secret underneath every observation, every measurement, every moment you try to pin down. You feel the slightest tremble in the fabric of reality, a reminder that nature never stops whispering, never stops moving, never becomes perfectly still. Tonight, you explore that whisper, the quiet jitter of the quantum world. The uncertainty that lingers beneath every attempt to measure something precisely. Not because nature is hiding or playing tricks, but because this is simply how reality chooses to exist. Your journey begins with a thought so simple, yet so profound: to measure something, you must touch it. And in the quantum world, even the softest touch leaves a mark. Imagine holding a delicate soap bubble between your hands. You want to know its exact shape, its exact shimmer, the exact point where a reflection of light bends around its curve. But every time you look at it too closely or try to touch its surface, you change it just a little. The bubble trembles, shifts, becomes something slightly new. In quantum mechanics, every bubble is like that. Every electron, every photon, every tiny particle dancing on the smallest stage of existence. The moment you try to observe it, truly observe it, you influence it. You press upon it with the softest fingertip, and it changes. This is the observer effect, and it isn't about humans interrupting nature with clumsiness. It is far gentler, far deeper. It's simply a consequence of interaction. To detect something, you must interact with it. To shine light on something, you must send photons toward it, and those photons become little messengers that inevitably nudge the particle you're trying to examine. Here, in the quiet of this moment, you can almost imagine the photons as tiny fireflies, drifting toward a particle in the dark, brushing it ever so slightly as they illuminate its position. Every measurement is a meeting, and every meeting leaves a trace. As you breathe more slowly, you notice how your own attention behaves. Try to focus on your heartbeat just for a moment. The more intensely you try to feel it, the louder it becomes. The more you try to pinpoint it, the more you disturb your own calm. The quantum world mirrors this in a deeper way. When scientists measure the position of a particle, they disturb its momentum, the smoothness of its motion. When they measure its momentum, they disturb its position. Like balancing on a gentle seesaw, leaning one way causes the other end to rise. This delicate balance is captured in Heisenberg's uncertainty principle, not a law of ignorance, but a law of nature. A quiet truth: some pairs of properties are forever linked, each tugging softly on the other. Position and momentum. Energy and time. The particle and the path it takes. These pairs behave like intertwined vines in a night garden. Pull one gently, and you feel the movement ripple through the other. You imagine walking through that garden now, surrounded by vines glowing faintly blue, breathing with you, moving with you, responding to every soft step. Nothing stands alone. Nothing can be held perfectly still. Nothing can be known without touching something else. You might think uncertainty sounds like a flaw, like an obstacle that scientists struggle to overcome. And yes, for much of history, that was the assumption. People believed that if we built better tools, better microscopes, better beams of light, we could eventually measure everything with perfect accuracy. But the quantum world is not waiting to be mastered. It is waiting to be understood. Uncertainty is not a measurement problem, it is a property of reality itself. A softness woven into the smallest threads of existence. Picture a violin string trembling under the lightest touch. You may want to measure its exact motion, but that trembling is the point. It exists because it moves. It moves because it cannot be perfectly still. Quantum particles are like that string, defined not by a single state, but by many possible states that flutter together. This flutter is not chaos. It is harmony. It is the universe playing its quiet music. You are not listening to noise. You are listening to a symphony of possibilities. Here's a soothing thought: if particles could have both perfect position and perfect momentum, the universe would be rigid, predictable, lifeless. There would be no room for change, no space for variation, no dance of energy across time. Instead, nature chooses uncertainty. Uncertainty gives particles room to exist. It gives atoms the ability to form. It gives chemistry its reactions. It allows electrons to spread into clouds, shaping every bond in your body, every breath you take. Without uncertainty, nothing would breathe. Nothing would glow. Nothing would change. The warmth in your chest right now, the gentle rise and fall, is made possible by the laws that govern the unseen jitter of particles. Uncertainty is not a flaw. It is a gift. A necessary softness at the foundation of everything. As your thoughts drift like slow-moving clouds, you begin to appreciate how deeply this principle shapes your life. It hides in the warmth of a candle flame, in the spark of a nerve signal, in the colors that reach your eyes. Even your dreams, quietly forming in your mind, rely on the restless dance of electrons and ions in your neurons. Nothing within you is perfectly still. Every sensation, every memory, every spark in your brain emerges from uncertainty. This restlessness is not uncomfortable. It is alive. It is the heartbeat of matter. And in this moment, you feel connected to it not as an observer standing apart, but as a participant in the same trembling, the same cosmic breath. You are part of the whisper beneath every measurement. The gentle jitter in every atom. The endless possibility in every unfolding moment. Let yourself picture a beam of light again, not harsh, not bright, but soft like moonlight falling on still water. When this light touches a particle, it tries to tell you where that particle is. But the very act of touching sends the particle gliding forward or sideways or spinning just a little differently. Light cannot illuminate without touching. Touching cannot happen without changing. This is the rule the universe follows, not a punishment, but a reminder that everything is connected. Everything influences everything else. In the quantum world, separation is impossible. Every glance is an embrace. Every measurement a meeting. You begin to understand that observation is not passive. It is participation. It is relationship. As you float deeper into the soft, drifting awareness, reflect on how comforting it is that nature prefers uncertainty. It means that nothing is forced into a single path. Everything, even a particle, lives in a space of possibility. You, too, live in that space. Every choice you've made. Every turn in your story. Every moment of growth. Nothing in your life has ever been entirely fixed. And yet, everything has unfolded with a quiet harmony. Uncertainty is not confusion, it is openness. Not chaos, but freedom. Not disorder, but potential waiting patiently. The quantum world teaches you to hold life gently, to allow mystery, to breathe into the spaces you cannot fully know. As this chapter draws to a close, imagine returning to that garden of glowing vines. You pause before two paths, both shimmering softly. You cannot see their ends. You cannot measure which one is right. But you feel no need to decide now. Like a particle before observation, you rest in possibility. Quiet. Unhurried. Open. You feel the whisper beneath every measurement. The trembling music of the smallest things. The universe telling you that mystery is not something to fear, it is something to cradle. You let your breath settle into an easy rhythm, as if each inhale smooths the surface of your thoughts and each exhale softens the edges of the world around you. In this quiet place, something simple enters your awareness, the image of a coin drifting upward, released gently from your fingertips. You watch it rise, spinning in slow, suspended motion. Not rising. Not falling. Not heads. Not tails. Just turning in midair. You feel the moment before it lands, that suspended, breath-held instant where anything is still possible. In quantum mechanics, nature lives inside that moment. It moves not in certainties but in possibilities, as if every particle carries its own tiny spinning coin that never fully stops. Tonight, you explore this strange and beautiful feature of the universe, the idea that before you measure a quantum object, it does not choose. It does not settle. It exists in a blend of outcomes, a gentle superposition of paths. Not here or there, but here and there. Not one thing or another, but something softly in between. When you hold a coin between your fingers, you know it has two sides. But as soon as it begins to spin in the air, it becomes something more than heads or tails. For a moment, it becomes possibility in motion. It carries every potential outcome within its turning. Quantum particles live their whole lives in this state. Before you look at an electron, it is not located in a single point. It is spread out like a cloud of possibilities, soft and shimmering, each place it could be blending with the others. This is superposition, the ability of quantum objects to exist in many states at once. Not because they are confused, not because they are hiding, but because this is how nature breathes at its smallest scale. You imagine these states as gentle waves folding over one another, not crashing, not colliding, but overlapping like quiet ripples on a still lake at dusk. Every ripple tells you something about where the particle might be, how it might move, what its future may become. And just like the lake, the particle is not defined by a single ripple. It is the whole pattern. The whole trembling surface. The whole range of possibilities held together. You are watching nature before it chooses. Before it becomes one thing instead of many. You may wonder what it means to exist in many states. It can sound abstract or distant, but it is much closer to your own experience than you might think. Consider the quiet moment just before you fall asleep. Your mind floats between thoughts. You are not fully awake, yet not fully dreaming. Your awareness is soft, fluid, unanchored. You drift through possibilities, fragments of memory, pieces of imagination, feelings you can't quite place. You are between states. Not here. Not there. Something like both. Quantum particles live in that liminal space all the time. Their existence is not locked into a single option. Instead, They rest inside a gentle openness, a freedom of being many things at once. This freedom is not chaotic, it is deeply structured. Superposition obeys rules as precise as the ticking of a clock, even though the outcomes feel fluid, soft, and mysterious. You begin to sense how extraordinary this is. Nature, at its smallest level, resists being pinned down. It prefers openness. It prefers possibility. You exhale, letting your shoulders ease into the mattress or chair supporting you. You realize that you, too, are allowed to rest in possibility, especially now, especially in this calm moment. Imagine yourself walking along a quiet shoreline. The waves move gently, cresting in slow patterns. Each wave tells you where the water has been, where it is going, and how it carries energy across the ocean's vast body. Quantum particles behave in ways surprisingly similar to these waves. Their superposition isn't just a metaphor mathematically, it truly behaves like a wave. A wave of probability. A wave of potential. Before a particle is measured, its state spreads out like a ripple. Wide. Soft. Uncertain. Beautiful. Scientists describe this with the wave function, a graceful mathematical tool that captures the possible positions, energies, and motions of a particle. But to you, right now, lying in this quiet space, the wave function feels less like math and more like a soft, luminous veil drifting across the universe. Where is the particle? Everywhere the wave is. Where will it be when you measure it? Only one place, but which place remains hidden until the moment of observation? The wave collapses. The coin lands. The possibilities fall into a single outcome. This sudden shift, this collapse of the superposition into a definite state, is one of the most mysterious events in physics. It is as if nature waits until the universe asks a question, and only then does it answer. Only then does it decide. But until that question is asked, the options remain open. You let that openness sit gently in your chest, like a soft, expanding breath. Superposition can feel like a strange idea, yet the more time you spend with it, the more intuitive it becomes. You begin to understand how deeply it shapes the world. The electrons in every atom of your body exist in superpositions. They occupy many positions around the nucleus at once, creating the stable clouds that make chemistry possible. Without superposition, atoms would collapse. Molecules would fail to form. Life would not unfold. Your own existence depends on this delicate layering of possibilities. It is as if your body is built from uncertainty woven into matter, spun into stable shapes by the laws of nature. Like a tapestry threaded with shimmering strands of potential. You are not made of certainty. You are made of possibility. Of layered states. Of soft, quantum clouds. The universe is not a rigid machine. It is a breathing, trembling, unfolding story. And you are made of its gentlest pages. Picture that spinning coin once more. You are watching it, waiting. It has not yet landed. Its sides still blur in motion. In the quantum world, particles live in this blur until an event and interaction forces a choice. That choice is not decided ahead of time. It is not stored inside the particle like a secret note. It emerges in the instant of measurement. Superposition becomes outcome. Possibility becomes reality. The unchosen becomes chosen. This process is called measurement, but in the quantum sense, the word is richer and deeper than observation. Measurement means interaction, any interaction. A photon brushing against an electron. A particle colliding with another. A field influencing a field. The universe is constantly interacting with itself, constantly nudging possibilities into outcomes, constantly turning its spinning coins into tangible results. But between each interaction, between the collisions and connections, superposition returns like a breath, like a rhythm. Possibility expands again. Nature inhales into openness, exhales into choice, inhales into openness, exhales into choice. You feel your own breath aligning with that rhythm now. Soft, slow, balanced. As you rest in this moment, you begin to appreciate the gentleness of superposition not as a paradox, but as an invitation. It reminds you that the world is not fixed, that outcomes are not predetermined, that life, like quantum particles, unfolds through possibilities. You feel yourself drifting, not toward sleep yet, but toward a soft awareness. Your thoughts become lighter, your body more relaxed, your edges less defined. You, too, feel slightly spread out, like a quiet wave resting across the landscape of your own consciousness. Not one feeling, not one thought, but many. A gentle blend. A soft superposition of your own inner states. For a moment, you allow yourself to be unchosen. Not fixed. Not forced. Just floating in the quiet space between. You realize that this in-between is not a place of confusion. It is a place of rest. A place of possibility. And now, as the chapter nears its end, imagine the coin once more. Spinning. Silver edges glinting softly in the low light of your imagination. It has not landed yet. It is still turning in the air. Still shimmering with all it could become. You watch it with peaceful curiosity, knowing that it will settle eventually, but not now, not yet. For now, the coin stays aloft, suspended in quiet motion, a symbol of nature's love for uncertainty. And as you breathe, the next part of your journey begins to glow faintly. A question forms at the edge of your awareness. What happens when possibilities begin to interfere with each other, shaping complex patterns, creating outcomes that no single path could form on its own? You settle deeper into your breath, feeling a calm warmth spreading behind your chest as if a soft light has taken a seat there. The world around you grows quieter, and your awareness drifts into a space where small things, very small things, begin to shimmer with new meaning. Tonight, you approach a threshold in quantum reality, a delicate doorway where potential becomes presence. It is the moment when the universe pauses, looks back at itself, and chooses. This moment is called measurement, but the word feels too mechanical for something so intimate. Measurement, in the quantum sense, is not simply looking. It is touching, meeting, participating. Before this moment, every particle exists as a gentle breath of possibility, a cloud of maybes drifting through the fabric of space. But the instant a measurement occurs, the cloud contracts. The wave of potential folds into a single outcome. The universe makes a quiet decision, one it had not written in advance, one it could not reveal until the very moment of interaction. You imagine yourself standing beside a small, glowing particle, something like a bead of light, hovering in the air. It is not solid. It is a smear of presence, spread through space like a whisper stretched thin. You move your hand toward it gently, and before you reach it, you feel a subtle tension, as if the particle senses your approach. You are not touching it, not yet, but already a shift is beginning. Your presence is becoming part of its story. The particle is preparing to choose. Quantum measurement happens in moments exactly like this. A particle encounters something, a photon, a field, a detector, even the surrounding environment, and in that encounter, its superposition collapses. It ceases to be many overlapping possibilities and becomes one clear state. Not because it prefers that state, but because interaction requires commitment. The universe does not allow the softness of superposition to remain once two systems intertwine. With touch comes clarity. You picture the wave function again, that shimmering ocean of potential. Before measurement, the wave stretches out gracefully, filled with countless places the particle might appear. After measurement, the entire ocean drains into a single droplet. The collapse is not a violent snap. It is a settling, like sand drifting downward in a clear jar of water, finding its place at the bottom. The universe shifts from openness to presence, from possibility to reality. You breathe in slowly, imagining the wave collapsing not as a loss, but as an arrival. The particle is no longer a wandering mist. It is here. Now. Present. And this is the strange gift of measurement, it creates moments. Without measurement, nothing definite would occur. Events would not exist. Time, as you understand it, would have no landmarks. The universe would be all haze and no footsteps. Measurement is the act that turns potential into history. You relax deeper, feeling your body grow heavier and your thoughts lighter. You begin to sense the subtlety of the quantum world, the way it avoids fixed outcomes unless pushed. It reminds you of how your own mind sometimes behaves when you have not yet made a decision. You remain in a soft space of possibilities, leaning one way and then the other, until something, an insight, a feeling, a small nudge of clarity brings you to a choice. Before that moment, you were many selves. After it, you are one. The universe, too, transitions in this way. It wanders through possibilities until an interaction forces it to commit. Every electron, every photon, every particle dances through options until something asks a question of it. And only then does the universe answer. The profound mystery is that the answer is not stored beforehand. It arises in the instant of measurement, as if the universe prefers not to decide until absolutely required. This leads you to a quiet realization: measurement is not an act performed by humans alone. The universe measures itself constantly. Particles bump into each other. Atoms exchange energy. Fields ripple and shift. Every interaction brings a collapse, a tiny decision made within the fabric of reality. You are not an outsider observing a distant world. You are part of the same network of interactions, the same unfolding pattern of decisions and possibilities. As you imagine these collapses happening everywhere, trillions upon trillions each second, you begin to sense how alive the universe is beneath its still appearance. Even in deep emptiness, even in the vacuum between galaxies, measurements occur. A stray photon brushes past a particle. A field trembles ever so slightly. A possibility folds into a fact. Nature is always choosing, always arriving, always bringing one outcome into existence from the endless sea of maybes. You settle into your breath once more, letting the previous chapter's final question linger in the quiet space of your mind. The darkness around you turns softer, almost velvety, as if the room has dimmed just a little to make space for a new kind of noticing. In this calm place, light begins to shimmer at the edges of your awareness, not as a beam, not as a glow, but as a series of gentle pulses. Tiny droplets. Small arrivals. Moments with no rhythm except the one nature quietly chooses. You see now that light does not travel as a smooth, unbroken stream. It comes in particles, photons, each one unique in its timing, its path, its own improbable story. When you imagine a flashlight, or a star overhead, or the faint glow leaking from a hallway at night, your mind sees a steady glow. But deep inside that glow, the quantum world flickers with complete unpredictability. A photon may arrive now, or maybe a bit later. It may bounce here, or there, or disappear into an unexpected angle. Its timing is not scripted. Its path is not pre-written. This is the randomness of light, quiet, constant, unavoidable. You imagine yourself holding out your hand in the dark. If your skin could count each photon touching it, it would feel like raindrops falling at no predictable interval. One arrives with a tiny tap. Then silence. Then two more. Then a pause. Then another. The pattern refuses to settle, yet somehow does not feel chaotic. It is more like a soft improvisation, a cosmic musician playing notes with no sheet music. This randomness reveals itself in every lab experiment where scientists try to count photons. They use detectors so sensitive they can record the arrival of a single particle of light, and what they see is never a steady beat. It is always a flicker, a scatter, a gentle irregularity. You breathe out slowly, letting this image ripple through you. Light, something you experience every day, turns out to be built on these tiny unpredictable drops. And somehow, knowing this makes the world feel even softer, even more alive. Now your attention shifts toward something even more subtle, time. You feel its passage as a steady flow, second after second, smooth and continuous. But underneath the everyday experience of hours and minutes, time in the quantum world has a faint tremble. Tiny uncertainties live inside the ticking of the universe's smallest clocks. Imagine, just for a moment, a perfect heartbeat of time. A pulse so even, so precise, that it never speeds up or slows down. Now imagine zooming in closer, closer than atoms, closer than particles, until you reach the scale where the universe becomes grainy and strange. Here, even the smallest intervals are not perfectly steady. They waver. They jitter. They move with a softness that defies absolute precision. This trembling is not a flaw. It is woven into the structure of reality. The quantum fields that shape the world are never perfectly still. They fluctuate, humming with random variations that create ripples in energy and time. These fluctuations give particles their identities. They allow atoms to form. They set the stage for everything you know. You feel yourself moving through these ideas slowly, gently, as if drifting along a quiet river. Each thought arrives like a small wave touching the side of a boat. You don't rush. You don't analyze. You simply float through the understanding that randomness is not just about where particles go, it is also about when things happen. Photons flicker into existence. Particles decay at unpredictable moments. Fields rise and fall in tiny, spontaneous shakes. Time itself sways with microscopic irregularities. You let your breath fall into this rhythm, a rhythm that has no rhythm at all, yet feels steady in its unpredictability. Each inhale arrives when it wishes. Each exhale releases when it chooses. Your body, too, lives inside these gentle uncertainties. Your heart beats with small variations. Your neurons fire in patterns you cannot predict. You are not separate from quantum randomness, you are made from it. Now imagine a beam of light passing through a thin sheet with two small openings. This is the famous double-slit experiment, but tonight you approach it not like a scientist, but like a dreamer. Photons are sent through one by one. They do not march through in a line. They arrive as individuals, as surprises. And each photon seems to choose its own moment to appear. One arrives. Then another after a pause. Then none for a while. Then a sudden cluster. The timing never settles into a steady beat. Yet when many photons pass through the slits, something astonishing emerges. Their random paths form a pattern, a soft, rippling tapestry of bright and dark regions on the screen. Out of randomness, structure arises. Out of scattered flickers, a harmony forms. This is one of the great secrets of the quantum world. Randomness does not prevent patterns. It creates them. You feel a deep calm spreading through you as this idea settles. Chaos giving rise to order. Flickers weaving into waves. Uncertainty shaping reality rather than breaking it. Now your attention returns to time, the quiet wobble beneath every moment. Physicists use clocks so precise they hardly drift even over billions of years. Yet when they push these clocks into the domain of quantum measurement, the tiniest uncertainties still appear. The clocks tremble, not because of any mechanical flaw, but because the universe itself refuses to tick with absolute stillness. You imagine time as a soft thread gently vibrating in your hands. You cannot hold it perfectly still. You cannot smooth it into perfect straightness. But you can feel its warmth, its hum, its living pulse. And in this hum, in this flicker, lies the mystery of existence. If time were perfectly rigid, nothing could change. If light arrived in perfect regularity, no patterns could form in the quantum world. Randomness is what allows complexity to bloom. Your body relaxes even more deeply as this understanding settles inside you. The unpredictability of light, of particles, of time itself becomes comforting. These fluctuations are not intrusions. They are the very heartbeat of reality. You find yourself thinking of your own moments, the days that felt irregular, the hours that drifted unexpectedly, the thoughts that arrived without warning. Perhaps these, too, are part of a deeper trembling, the natural irregularity woven into everything that exists. The world is not a metronome. It is a gentle improvisation. A song made of surprises. As you near the end of this chapter, your breath becomes softer, your mind quieter. You drift in the awareness that randomness is not a disruption but a pulse running through the universe, a quiet signature of existence itself. And somewhere in this softness, a new question begins to form, like a faint glimmer on the horizon. If randomness shapes the flicker of light and the tremble of time, how does nature use this uncertainty to build patterns, structures, and life itself? You rest a little deeper now, as if your mind has stepped into a quieter valley of thought, where the night air settles softly on everything it touches. In this valley, even chaos breathes gently. And here, you begin to see something curious within the seeming disorder of nature. Certain patterns glow like faint constellations waiting for your eyes to notice them. You often imagine randomness as wild, as if it were a careless breeze scattering leaves without purpose. But tonight, you discover that randomness can also be a quiet language, one that nature speaks patiently, again and again, weaving subtle forms into its uncertain fabric. You breathe in, slowly. And you step closer to that hidden language. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine the hum of a distant sea. At first, you hear only the rise and fall of waves, irregular, uncountable, arriving without a pattern you can predict. But if you listen long enough, something shifts. Beneath the chaos, a rhythm begins to reveal itself. Not a precise rhythm, not something you can set your watch by, just a gentle consistency, a kind of background reliability carried within the randomness. Physics has a word for these patterns that survive inside uncertainty: distributions. But tonight, instead of giving them names, you simply feel them. You sense how raindrops fall at different speeds but gather into the same soft puddles. You sense how the brightness of stars varies wildly, yet they scatter themselves through the universe in familiar shapes. You sense how randomness, when repeated enough, begins to sketch outlines, soft sketches, never sharp, but real in their own way. There is a quiet comfort in that, knowing that even if individual events are unpredictable, the whole behaves with a soothing steadiness, a kind of cosmic reassurance. You don't need to measure anything. Just breathe and observe. Without your awareness, your body has learned the patterns of randomness intimately. Every second, electrons in your neurons make tiny, unpredictable decisions, jumping here or there, releasing signals at slightly different times. Individually, each event is jittery and uncertain. But altogether, the collection creates something beautifully dependable: your thoughts, your memories, the gentle rise and fall of your mind drifting towards sleep. Randomness in your cells isn't noise. It's the background music of being alive. If each electron behaved with perfect predictability, your body would feel rigid and unresponsive. But because they move with uncertainty, your thoughts can wander fluidly, your ideas can shift, your brain can dream. Even chaos becomes a quiet ally. Nature never wastes its randomness. It turns it into harmony. Now, picture yourself holding a handful of sand. Each grain is unpredictable, no two shaped exactly alike, no two falling from your fingers in the same way. But when you let the entire handful pour slowly through your palm, you see something magical. The flow becomes smooth, steady, almost mathematical. 1,000 unpredictable grains create one predictable stream. This is the gentleness of the law of large numbers, but tonight you don't need the name, only the feeling. The feeling that uncertainties, when gathered together, can form something peaceful, something that behaves the same way each time. It's the difference between listening to one raindrop and listening to a rainfall. Between the flicker of a single flame and the glow of a quiet hearth. Chaos, in large numbers, becomes calm. Just like your thoughts. Just like your breath. As you wander deeper through this quiet chapter, imagine a meadow at night. Grass sways in the wind, each blade dancing in its own unpredictable way. But from above, the meadow moves like a single soft blanket, rising and falling in gentle waves. This is how nature blends chaos and pattern. This is how the random and the reliable intertwine. The quantum world, too, behaves this way. Though each measurement is uncertain, the probabilities follow elegant curves, curves that physicists have drawn so many times that they feel like familiar shapes, like constellations of behavior rather than stars. You could stare at one quantum event forever and never predict what it will do. But look at a million of them, and their behavior outlines a pattern so steady it feels almost like a heartbeat. This is the secret: uncertainty does not erase structure. It creates it. And in this soft twilight place, you begin to sense how the universe balances the two delicately, like a dancer poised between freedom and form. Now, gently notice your own thoughts. One thought flickers in, uninvited. Another drifts by, hazy and strange. A third dissolves before you can grasp it. Individually, each thought feels random, appearing from nowhere, leaving without explanation. But when you step back, when you listen to your mind as a whole, you sense a quiet rhythm beneath the surface. Your thoughts follow patterns shaped by memory, emotion, curiosity, and fatigue. Random, yet organized. chaotic, yet meaningful. Even your dreams emerge this way, tiny unpredictable sparks combining into images that flow like water and carry you into deeper sleep. Your mind is not fighting the randomness. It is using it. Just like nature does. Just like the universe does. Let your breath loosen a little more. Let your shoulders soften. Imagine the early universe, moments after the Big Bang. Everything was chaotic, jittering with unimaginable randomness. Yet from that chaos, simple patterns emerged, patterns that became laws, forces, atoms, galaxies. Patterns that shaped everything you know. This is perhaps the most comforting truth of all. The universe does not fear uncertainty. It grows from it. Every star began as a fluctuation in a cloud of gas, something tiny, something random. Every galaxy spiraled because of slight, unpredictable differences in how matter arranged itself. Even life, your life, arose because molecules danced in ways no mind could ever foresee. Nature isn't trying to eliminate uncertainty. It is sculpting with it. Softly. Patiently. Endlessly. You, too, are shaped by beautiful irregularities. As the chapter settles around you like a warm blanket, let one last idea linger gently in your mind. Within the randomness of every moment, every breath, every thought, every tiny movement of particles, patterns are forming quietly, like constellations emerging from a dark sky. You don't always see them at first. They appear slowly, softly, revealed only when you step back and let the chaos settle. And there is something waiting for you in these patterns, something deeper, something even more mysterious. Because if randomness can create patterns, what might those patterns lead to next? What hidden shapes is the universe weaving right now, just beyond your awareness? Night settles a little deeper around you, like a slow-moving tide of softness. With each breath, your mind relaxes into a quieter rhythm, open now to subtler mysteries, those woven into the smallest threads of existence. In this dim, gentle place, you begin to sense something intimate and astonishing, that randomness is not just a feature of the quantum world, it is one of its deepest signatures. Everywhere you look, the universe carries traces of quantum uncertainty, tiny fingerprints pressed into matter, energy, and even the light that travels across the cosmos. They are faint, delicate, and easy to overlook in the rush of waking life. But here, in the stillness of the night, you can finally feel them. You are about to follow these fingerprints, one by one, into the heart of quantum reality. Imagine a single electron, small beyond imagining, a ripple of existence rather than a tiny bead. Left alone, it does not move in a straight, neat line the way you might picture. Instead, it spreads like a soft cloud, occupying many possible paths at once. And when you observe it, when you reach in with the tools of measurement, the cloud collapses into one outcome, chosen by nature with a whisper of randomness. This is not a flaw. Not noise. Not confusion. It is the electron's fingerprint, a pattern of behavior so fundamental that without it, matter as you know it could not exist. You breathe slowly as you take that in. A tiny cloud of possibility, deciding quietly where it wishes to land. Even at this scale, randomness has a kind of grace. Now drift your attention to the structure of atoms. They look so orderly in diagrams, circles and rings, neatly labeled and spaced. But the real atom is not a tidy diagram. It is a shimmering tapestry of uncertainty. Electrons do not orbit like planets, they hover in probability shapes, diffuse and ever-shifting. These shapes, these orbitals, are the places an electron might be. Not where it is. Atoms rely on this uncertainty. If electrons were fixed, rigid objects, atoms would collapse inward, matter would become unstable, and chemistry would fall apart. Every breath you take, every resting heartbeat, owes its ease to quantum uncertainty holding the world gently open. Randomness is not an intruder here. It is the quiet architect of stability. You exhale softly into that realization. The world feels even more delicate, even more miraculous. Now picture light, familiar, warm, comforting. You wake to it each morning, and here in the night, you feel the memory of it like a soft glow behind your eyelids. But light, too, has quantum fingerprints. Even a steady beam, shining unbroken from a lamp or a star, contains tiny variations, fluctuations in the number of photons arriving from one moment to the next. Each photon is a discrete packet of energy, appearing not in a smooth stream but with subtle, random gaps between arrivals. This flickering is called shot noise, but you don't need the name to feel its presence. It is simply the universe breathing at the smallest scales, each photon arriving on its own schedule, like raindrops tapping gently on a window. If you listen closely to that irregular rhythm, soft, uneven, alive, you begin to sense that even light is made not of certainty but of choices. Millions of tiny choices arriving one by one. The quantum fingerprints don't remain confined to particles or atoms. They expand outward, carried through space and time, stamped into the fabric of the universe itself. Long ago, the infant cosmos swelled outward in a rapid, delicate burst called inflation. During this expansion, tiny quantum fluctuations, microscopic ripples in energy, were stretched to cosmic scales. These ripples later guided matter into clusters, into filaments, into galaxies. The grand architecture of the universe, those sweeping structures millions of light-years wide, began as little quantum jitters. Pause for a moment and let that settle. The shape of the sky, the map of galaxies, the distribution of everything that ever formed. All of it started as randomness. As faint fingerprints scattered across the early universe. And those fingerprints are still visible today, etched into the cosmic microwave background, a faint glow left over from the dawn of time. When scientists look closely at it, they see tiny variations in temperature, tiny fluctuations in light, all born from quantum uncertainty. In this way, the universe's earliest breath has never fully faded. Now let your awareness drift from the vast cosmos back to yourself. To your body resting here. To the quiet rise and fall of your chest. You are not separate from those quantum fingerprints. You are made of them. Every protein in your cells folds the way it does partly because of delicate quantum effects in chemical bonds. Every spark of neuronal activity in your brain occurs because electrons, governed by uncertainty, choose pathways that allow signals to form. Every thought, every memory, every dream is shaped by the tiny randomness that lives in the heart of matter. Quantum uncertainty does not only describe distant particles. It describes you, your warmth, your breath, your soft presence in the world tonight. You are not built atop randomness as if it were a shaky foundation. You are shaped by it, supported by it, carried by it. Your existence is one of the universe's most intricate quantum patterns. As you drift deeper into this chapter, consider something gentle but profound. Quantum uncertainty allows everything to unfold in many possible ways. It gives the universe options, moments of branching, shifts in direction, tiny chances for something new to emerge. These microscopic uncertainties accumulate over time, bumping events ever so slightly toward new outcomes, a molecule turning left instead of right, a neuron firing a millisecond earlier, a thought arriving unexpectedly. Small choices become larger ones. And gradually, your life takes shape through a chain of delicate quantum possibilities. Not predetermined. Not fully predictable. Just beautifully open. Each moment you've lived contains countless hidden fingerprints, tiny events that could have been otherwise, that gave your world its unique shape. There is a gentle comfort in that openness, a reminder that uncertainty is not emptiness. It is potential. The fingerprints of quantum randomness are everywhere across particles, light, atoms, galaxies, and your own body. And yet, physicists still do not fully understand why randomness is woven so deeply into the universe. Is it a fundamental feature of reality? A limit of knowledge? A boundary between what can be known and what must simply be experienced? No one is sure. And that uncertainty itself becomes another fingerprint, a final, lingering trace of mystery that invites you to lean closer, to wonder just a little more. As this chapter draws to a close, imagine the night around you growing quieter still. Your breath deepens. Your mind softens. And the fingerprints of quantum uncertainty begin to feel like gentle marks on the fabric of your world, subtle reminders that nature does not move with mechanical precision, but with freedom and softness. Let this final thought rest lightly in your mind. If the tiniest parts of reality carry fingerprints of randomness, then every moment is touched by possibility. Every breath. Every quiet decision. Every unknown future unfolding softly in the dark. And if these fingerprints shape the universe, what larger pattern are they slowly guiding you toward? The night around you feels especially tender now, as if it has been walking beside you through every chapter, learning the cadence of your breath, adjusting its quiet to match your own. You have followed randomness across particles, light, time, and the soft architecture of nature's choices. Now the journey turns inward, not into equations or experiments, but into the quiet chambers of your own life. Here, uncertainty becomes something intimate. Not a distant scientific idea, not a strange quantum rule, but a presence you carry within yourself, one you've always carried, whether you realized it or not. Tonight, you finally sit with it. Take a slow, easy breath. Feel how it rises, how it falls. Feel the softness in its pattern, the slight variations from breath to breath. Even something as familiar as breathing is never exactly the same twice. Tiny changes in air pressure, heart rhythm, neural signals, muscle tension, and microscopic fluctuations in the molecules you inhale, each breath is unique, shaped by countless hidden influences. You live inside this gentle unpredictability without ever needing to control it. Existence is not a perfectly repeated cycle, it is a flowing, evolving river, textured by subtle randomness. And your body knows how to move within that river. It always has. Now imagine your thoughts drifting like soft lanterns, moving gently across the dark. Thoughts arise, linger, dissolve, and rarely line up in perfect order. One thought leads unexpectedly to another. A memory appears without warning. A new idea flickers into being. This is not disorder. This is aliveness. Neurons fire with quantum sensitivity. Synapses shift with delicate chemical nudges. Electrical pulses choose paths shaped by tiny fluctuations that can never be predicted with precision. Your inner world is not a rigid machine. It is a shimmering landscape of possibility. These tiny uncertainties are part of what makes creativity possible. They allow for spontaneity, surprise, detours, revelations. Without them, your mind would be a closed loop, repeating itself endlessly. Instead, it unfolds softly, continuously into something new. So much of life is spent trying to predict, manage, foresee, prepare. Your mind tries to smooth the path ahead, to prepare for the unexpected, to make life feel solid and knowable. But beneath everything, the universe is quietly whispering. It is okay not to know. Uncertainty is not a failure. It is not a gap in understanding. It is the natural texture of a universe built from quantum randomness. And just as electrons wander through probability clouds, your life also moves through a field of possibilities. You can guide your direction, shape your choices, lean toward what matters. But you can never fully control the outcomes. There is a gentle freedom in accepting this. You don't need to see every step. You don't need to predict every turn. You are allowed to walk forward with trust, breathing into the unknown like it is part of you. Because it is. It may seem surprising, but unpredictability can be protective. In nature, randomness keeps ecosystems resilient. Genetic variation protects species from sudden change. Random movement in molecules prevents stagnation. Random mutations allow life to adapt, diversify, flourish. Randomness does not always bring risk. Sometimes it brings opportunity. Sometimes it brings the one change that allows growth. Your own life is full of moments shaped by unexpected encounters, unplanned detours, surprising connections. If every day followed a strict pattern, nothing new could emerge. You rest in this thought: uncertainty is not a threat you must brace against. It is a spaciousness the universe offers you, a space where new paths can appear. There is a particular calm that comes when you stop trying to force answers too quickly. When you allow a moment to remain unresolved. When you let a question breathe. Quantum physics teaches that some things simply cannot be known in full detail at the same time. Position and momentum. Energy and duration. The more you grasp one, the softer the other becomes. This is not a flaw. It is a balance. Life contains a similar balance. There are moments when clarity opens, when you can see the path ahead. And there are moments when the picture blurs, when the horizon becomes hazy, when the future refuses to reveal its shape. You don't have to push against that haze. You can rest inside it. Uncertainty is not a void. It is a kind of horizon, wide, gentle, full of potential. Let yourself imagine the future now, not as a solid line, but as a soft field of shimmering paths. Some are bright. Some are faint. Some you have not even imagined yet. All of them are constantly shifting with the quiet movements of chance and choice. You do not need to walk them all. You do not need to choose the perfect one. Your life unfolds through a combination of intention and unpredictability. The two are partners, not opposites. One gives direction, the other allows discovery. This is the same balance that builds galaxies from random fluctuations, the same balance that lets electrons dance between possibilities, the same balance that shapes your breath and your thoughts and your quiet presence in the world. Uncertainty is not the enemy of purpose. It is the companion that allows purpose to evolve. As you sink deeper into this chapter, you begin to sense something steady beneath the shifting patterns of randomness, the awareness that you are part of a much larger rhythm. A cosmic rhythm. A rhythm that has been unfolding since the first quantum fluctuations rippled through the newborn universe. Your life is one small thread woven into that vast tapestry. And because the tapestry is shaped by uncertainty, your thread contains unexpected brightness, moments of grace that could only appear because the universe is open, not determined. You don't have to know how the whole tapestry looks. You only need to rest in the knowledge that you belong to it. You are carried by the same randomness that shapes stars and atoms. You are grounded in the same patterns that balance chaos and order. And even when the world feels unstable, there is a quiet stability in knowing that uncertainty is universal, natural, and deeply shared. Bring your awareness back to your body now. To the shape of your hands resting softly. To the weight of your body settling more deeply into whatever supports you. To the gentle rise and fall of your chest. Notice how uncertainty is not something outside of you, it is something within you, something you can meet with softness rather than fear. A thought arises unpredictably. A breath shifts in depth. A feeling changes its texture. A moment moves from tension to calm. And through it all, you continue. You remain whole. Your mind learns to make space for the unknown, not by solving it, but by breathing with it. The universe does the same. As this chapter begins to settle into its closing moments, imagine yourself standing at the edge of a quiet field, dusk gathering around you. The sky above is wide and open, just like possibility itself. You cannot see every star that will appear. You cannot predict the exact moment each one will shimmer into view. But you know they will come. Slowly. Naturally. In their own time. Living with uncertainty is like standing in that field open to whatever rises out of the dark, trusting that even the unknown carries its own quiet beauty. Let this final whisper move through you. You do not need certainty to feel at home in the universe. You only need openness, the same openness that lets particles choose their paths, that lets galaxies grow from tiny fluctuations, that lets your life unfold in ways you cannot yet imagine.